Hello, and thanks for joining us from our studios in Tel Aviv. Coming up in today's newscast, the Israeli Air Force strikes a terror cell in the Gaza Strip. Christians and Jews unite in Poland to support the Holy Land, and Israel welcomes a special new submarine. I'm Natasha Kirchak here with the latest news in Israel. The Israeli Air Force launched a preemptive strike against a group of Palestinian terrorists this morning as they were planting an explosive device on the Gaza fence. The army says that the terror cell was targeted as they were attempting to attack an IDF unit patrolling the Gaza border. One Palestinian terrorist was killed and 3 others were wounded in the airstrike. During the operation, the army found additional IEDs and operatives waiting to detonate them. Hamas has threatened to retaliate against Israel for the strike, and a spokesman from the terror group warned that Israel is playing with fire. Recently, the northern Gaza Strip has more actively attacked Israel than the south. Rocket fire and violent demonstrations have increased along the border. Israel is accusing Swedish Foreign Minister Margot Wallström of supporting terrorism and inciting violence against the country. Wallström has demanded an investigation to determine if Israel is guilty of extrajudicial killings of Palestinians during the recent wave of violence. But instead of referring to innocent Palestinian civilians, she's referring to terrorists who attack Israelis with knives and guns. The Israeli ministry is calling Wallström irresponsible and delirious for her attacks on the Jewish state. Swedish lawmaker Jan Björlund has charged that her approach to Israel has damaged Sweden's diplomatic efforts in the region. But the foreign minister has rejected the accusation, saying Sweden is just as much a friend to Israel as it is to Palestine. Last month, Wallström accused Israel of disproportionate use of force in dealing with the recent wave of terrorist attacks. Ties between Sweden and Israel have been in crisis since late last year, when Stockholm announced its recognition of a Palestinian state. 3 Americans and a Belgian are suing Israel over the Mavi Marmara Flotilla incident in 2010. They claim they sustained injuries during the Israeli raid on their boat that was heading to Gaza. The claimants were aboard the U.S. ship named Challenger 1, which was one of the 6 ships heading to Gaza with alleged humanitarian aid. The boats had a stated goal to break the Gaza blockade, and all the ships in the flotilla refused Israeli orders to turn back as they tried to breach it. Israel repeatedly warned the flotilla crews to turn back, but they were ignored.
You are approaching an area of hostilities, which is under a naval blockade. The Gaza area, coastal region, and Gaza harbor are closed to all maritime traffic. The Israeli government supports delivery of humanitarian supplies to the civilian population in the Gaza Strip and invites you to enter the Ashdod port.
When the Challenger 1 refused to stop, the Israeli army raided the ship. The plaintiffs claim they were injured as a result.
We're arguing that this U.S.-flagged vessel is the United States, and therefore the injuries inflicted by the Israeli Defense Forces on the ship were inflicted in the United States.
In November 2015, the International Criminal Court closed a preliminary investigation into possible war crimes during the Israeli raid on the Gaza-bound flotilla. A United Nations panel called the raid excessive, but said that those attempting to break the blockade were also at fault. Israel is publicly condemning North Korea's nuclear test last week, calling it unacceptable. The Israeli Foreign Ministry has now joined the international community in denouncing the North Korean test. Israel is expressing concern that the test poses danger to regional stability and international peace and security. Meanwhile, Israel refuses to respond to allegations that it has nuclear weapons, and the country refuses to sign up to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Foreign military sources claim Israel has between 100 and 200 warheads capable of delivering nuclear weapons. Last night, American President Obama made his last annual State of the Union address, but Israel wasn't mentioned once. Professor Eitan Gilboa is an expert on American-Israeli relations, and he joins us with more. Thanks for coming in.
It's my pleasure.
Is it unusual for Obama not to mention Israel in his State of the Union address?
It is unusual. in all his previous State of the Union messages, he mentioned Israel. It may represent the changing landscape in the Middle East, the civil wars in Syria, Libya, Iraq, and Yemen. It may also represent a recognition, albeit a late one, in the fact that Israel is not the source of all instability and violence in the Middle East. So this may represent a final recognition of what is important and what is not important in the region. Obama's handling of Israel and the Israeli-Palestinian relations have not been a huge success, and therefore there is no reason to mention them in his final State of the Union message, which primarily is designed to prepare Obama's legacy.
Obama did mention the Middle East and ISIS, and he said that ISIS is not a threat to the U.S.'s national existence. What did he mean by that?
Yes, I think the Islamic State is not an existential threat to U.S. national security. The president has changed his mind about the Islamic State since the beginning of the offensive of that jihadist organization in recent months and weeks. This organization attacked targets inside the United States. The public is very concerned about terrorist activity inside the state, inspired by the Islamic State, and Republican presidential candidates have criticized the president for his mishandling of ISIS threat, and therefore the president says well, we should not worry about that. This is not a major threat, but it has to be destroyed. He did not say how this could be accomplished.
So changing tunes a little bit, in your opinion, how does Israel feel about Obama's speech? Is the fact that he didn't mention Israel going to have a negative impact on the public perception of the United States and the current government?
It wouldn't be good to hear positive references from Obama about Israel. In many of his statements about Israel, he has been very critical. Some of his statements were outrageous. So many Israelis may feel that it's better not to be mentioned if the mentioning is done within a critical context, and it may affect the basic attitudes of Israelis toward Obama, because many, like the United States, but have been very critical about the president handling of Prime Minister Netanyahu and his policies towards Israeli-Palestinian negotiations and relations.
Obama did speak very positively about the Iran nuclear agreement. He said that it's a great result of international cooperation, and this came just hours after Iran detained 10 U.S. Navy sailors.
I think that most Israelis and many in the United States and in Europe have been very critical about the Iran nuclear deal. I think that people are disappointed by the lack of action against the recent Iranian experiments with long-range missiles, which are capable of carrying nuclear bombs. The Iranians have been testing the United States, and nothing happened. These tests are violating United Nations Security Council resolutions, and it seems that the Iranian nuclear deal is going to be severely tested in the next few years. And Obama thinks that this is the #1 major achievement of his administration in foreign affairs. It remains to be seen. I think that there's a better chance for this deal to be registered in history as a major failure.
So the big question here is, in your view, what was the main message that Obama was trying to deliver in this speech? Was it related to the Iran nuclear agreement, and did he accomplish his goal?
He attempted to establish his legacy both in domestic and foreign affairs. this year is going to be election year in the United States. Much of the speech was referring to issues that are already at the center of the campaign and the public debate. Obama said the United States is the #1 power in the world. He also said that the United States is the most durable and stable and strong economic power. He is right about all of these issues. However, countries make decisions based on perceptions and not necessarily on realities. And the perception of the United States in recent years has been of a declining power. A president that is not interested in leading the world. And Obama was trying to defend his record. He said, yes, we want to lead the world in cooperation with other countries. We cannot be the policeman of the world. Many countries, especially in the Middle East, have been highly disappointed by the lack of leadership in American foreign policy. It was unfortunate that during the NATO military intervention in Libya, someone at the White House came up with this notion of leadership from behind, which characterized Obama's foreign policy and doesn't make any sense, because either you lead or you're behind. You cannot lead from behind.
Thank you so much for joining us, Professor.
Thank you very much.
Hundreds of Christians and Jews marched together in Poland this week to show their support for Israel. Protesters carrying Israeli and Polish flags marched through the streets of Warsaw, dancing and singing together. The pro-Israel rally is protesting against the world's lack of support for the Jewish state in light of the recent wave of Palestinian violence. Organizers say that the rally was meant to send a message to Israelis that they are not alone. The march was supported by several Christian groups, including the Church of Evangelical Christians. Israel's ambassador Anna Azari attended the rally to thank the participants. Exciting news! Israel's newest submarine has arrived in Haifa, all the way from Germany. Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Rivlin were there to receive the $400 million sub, which was named the INS Rahav. The vessel is the country's 5th Dolphin-class submarine, and it's said to have nuclear capabilities. The sub is reportedly the most advanced, complex, and expensive item in Israel's military arsenal.
צי הצוללות שלנו משמש להרתעת האויבים ששואפים להשמידנו. הם לא ישיגו את מבוקשם. הם צריכים לדעת שישראל מסוגלת לפגוע בעוצמה רבה מאוד בכל מי שמנסה לפגוע בה. ואזרחי ישראל צריכים לדעת שישראל היא מדינה חזקה מאוד. אנו עושים ונעשה הכל כדי להגן עליכם בכל מקום ובכל זירה.
The Rahav is over 220 feet long and it weighs more than 2,000 tons. It can hold up to 50 people and it's due to be operational in just a couple of months. It's reportedly capable of carrying nuclear-tipped missiles, which would give Israel a second strike capability if attacked by nuclear weapons. It's time for our Hebrew word of the day. They say it's bad luck to leave a vessel unnamed, so it's good news that Israel's new submarine is called Rahav. Rahav means pride or arrogance in Hebrew, but it also has a lot of other translations. Rahav is a Hebrew name for the Greek god of the sea, Neptune, and the term is also mentioned several times in the Bible with different meanings. It refers to a sea monster, a multi-headed dragon, and it even refers to the land of Egypt. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast. Get out your umbrella because tomorrow is expected to be rainy with a high of 67. The rain should clear up by Friday, but the temperature will drop down to 65 degrees. All right, everybody, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.94 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at ILTV.tv. And don't forget to check out our new breaking newscast every morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.